Welcome in, Hawks fans. Your boy Bryce Lewis back at it again for another Believe in Hawks episode. Some news around the team as they start to gear back up to start playing regular season ball. Haven't played since last Saturday against the Bucks in the semifinals in the NBA Cup, which the Bucks have gone on to win. Congratulations to them. But been some news. We have some injury news, some big injury news. A Hawks player has been cut, and there are now rumors about who could be involved in trade talks. Also, with one player being cut, where do the Hawks go at that position? So we're going to talk about all that today on Believe in Hawks and everything under the sun. Appreciate you tuning into the podcast, guys. Obviously, first time watching the pod. If you enjoy it, subscribe, like the video for sure. For more Hawks content, leave a comment down below on any discussion points that you would like to make a point on. And obviously, for my audio listeners, it's the same thing. Leave a rating, leave a review. Show love to your boy. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. Let me be a part of your day. So really, really do appreciate you guys supporting the Believe in Hawks podcast as we continue on. And also follow me on Twitter, Bricey_2K, BRICEY_2K. But yeah, so we're going to start with the injury news. Kobe Bufkin is out for the year. Hawks announced that on their socials today. It was also reported today by multiple people that Kobe Bufkin will miss the rest of the season for shoulder surgery. Kobe obviously was the person who was in the rotation, came out of the rotation. People were asking what happened. He was not listed on injury reports, which is an interesting question to ask. But basically, they made the decision that he will have right shoulder surgery, as they call the injury, right shoulder instability. So he'll have that surgery next month in January, and he'll miss the rest of the season, but is expected to be healthy for the next coming season. And it sucks for him because Kobe Bufkin is a guy that I think some people were excited about. Some people believe in Kobe Bufkin, what he could bring to the table. Obviously, growing into that point guard position was a big part of, I think, this season for this Hawks team and what they wanted to see from him. And then now having an injury that rules you out. And throughout his first 2 years, he's pretty much not been able to play much basketball, G League or on the main roster. And so it's been tough to see him struggling to stay healthy. That shoulder has been giving issues since the Summer League. If you remember, Summer League got shoulder hurt, missed the entire Summer League, came back for camp, was fine. He played in the games, and then he had the 30-point game against Oklahoma City, then injured it again, missed a month and a half, then came back again, and then he just, like I said, was pulled out of the rotation, and we didn't know what, and now we see that the shoulder was giving him a problem again. And if you remember the second time he re-injured the shoulder, you heard that he was evaluating different medical options. So I wonder if season-ending surgery was on that list, but he wanted to try to play this season and go through another. I think he had a different type of procedure, a non-surgical procedure, and try to hope that would help him get through the year. Obviously, that did not happen that way, and so now they've said we need to go ahead, get it fixed. We'll just lose you for the rest of the year. So that sucks for Kobe Bufkin, and now puts the Hawks in an interesting position right now at the backup point guard spot. The question is, what happens right now? We've seen Vic Krejci manning that position. I would assume, and I've always said that I think the Hawks would prefer him not to have to be the backup point guard. So you have to look at available options that could be available for you at that spot for Kobe Bufkin. But before we get there, I want to continue with Kobe and just saying that, some people have been asking, is this end of Kobe Bufkin in Atlanta? It's too early to tell. I think, again, this organization has showed a commitment to development and helping guys grow. So, but having the amount of injuries he's had is obviously tough, but you also have to consider he is their lottery pick. So, and he is a couple of years out even before you have to make a decision in terms of if you're going to keep him or not. And so I could definitely see the Hawks bringing him back next year, hoping again he stays healthy and kind of going from there. But I can see why some people may feel like, it may be time to let go of Kobe Bufkin. Just because he's starting his career with so many injuries, you're always going to now have the question, can Kobe Bufkin stay healthy? The thing that's weird about it is, DeAndre Hunter had a lot of injuries throughout his years. He's missed a lot of playing time, but he's still here. And now he's for the most part, outside of that one stretch of the season, has played well. Obviously, we need a larger sample size and everything of that nature, but, he looks good, and it's been worth kind of hanging on to him now. But, maybe that's how the Hawks may see that with Kobe. It really just depends on what they want to do, because they've seemed like a team who's consistent with their development plan, and it's funny because we're getting Seth Lundy news where he's also been hurt, but he had a different result. But obviously he was a second round pick who was primarily a G League guy to begin with, where Kobe is a guy who there was a legitimate expectation for him to be in the rotation, play, man the backup point guard spot, and kind of go from there. So, I think that, Kobe is a guy who hopefully he gets healthy. That's the first and foremost, most important thing for him. Get healthy, get ready to go, get ready to play. And then I'm sure the Hawks reevaluate this position, because at the end of the day, too, the Hawks, if they make a move at that spot, I mean, we will have to know, is this a guy who you expect to be your backup point guard for years? Because it feels like to me, whatever they do, the backup point guard spot will probably be open again next year. And so if that's the case, you really don't have a reason to let go of Kobe Bufkin. It's just maybe you may look at that spot and say, we really just need to continue to make sure we have bodies at that spot in case Kobe can't stay healthy. Now, we've talked about, now let's get into some options for this team. Now, this has been the interesting topic on Hawks Twitter, Hawks socials, Facebook, everything, is where would the Hawks go at backup point guard? Obviously, like I mentioned, I don't think they want Vic Krejci to be the guy. So I've heard some Dennis Smith Jr. I've heard some Markelle Fultz. He's been a popular name. I've heard some Colin Sexton in terms of trade talks, some different guys that people have considered to maybe potentially want to bring in. The issue is that the backup point guard position role really isn't that strong. It's not like you were in a great spot with that position. You don't have like to me, I feel like you don't have just this absurd amount of backup point guards that you maybe would love to put in that spot. I mean, Brogdon is another guy. He's had issues with health. Monte Morris. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Jordan Clarkson. I've heard Lonzo Ball would be a perfect fit. But obviously, every guy comes with their own different, nicks and candies. Guys like Colin Sexton and Lonzo Ball, you probably have to give up more for to get them on your team. And again, I don't. The Hawks already don't have a ton of assets. A lot of people are mentioning the Sacramento pick as a potential pick they could use in a trade. But then after that, it's still like, what are the Hawks giving away to acquire a guy like Alonzo Ball? Because, would the Bulls consider a Kings pick and Cody Zeller good enough? Probably not. So who else are you attaching in that trade to acquire him? Some people are going to mention just send Kobe back. I mean, again, if you're the Bulls, is that good enough for you? Utah's the same way. Danny Ainge is known for driving a hard bargain and pushing for more from the teams that want to trade with him. So the Hawks have to evaluate that if those were two options they wanted to go. Obviously, like I said, free agent options, you could go. Jordan Clarkson, to me, I don't think fits what the Hawks want to do. Because obviously, yes, they want a guy who can score at some point from that position. But I also think they want somebody who is a playmaker, a ball handler, and can defend. And Jordan Clarkson is not a playmaker or a defender. So all you're getting from him is offense. It's basically when they signed Lou Williams. You're getting offense. That's all you're getting from him. And in that situation, since Nate McMillan had more of an ISO-heavy system, it was fine. You clearly see Quinn doesn't want that type of system. So you also have to take into account the fit. Who would be the best type of backup point guard? And especially because that spot, backup point guard for the Hawks, is probably going to be the one bench spot that plays the fewest amount of minutes on a nightly basis for them, just because you have Trae Young at that spot. So Trae is going to get 35, 38 minutes a game. So you're not going to be playing like 20 minutes a game, obviously, unless there's injuries and you're a combo guard. But, so you also have to take that in consideration. So those are just a few names. I'd love to hear from you guys who you think who could fill that role, who you think would be a good fit for the team if they wanted to go after someone to fill the backup point guard spot. And then obviously, if you look at in-house options, you're looking at guys like a Vic Krejci continuing to fill that spot. Dyson Daniels getting more ball handling opportunities. We've seen obviously in the Boston game when he had more ball handling responsibilities. It didn't look bad. It looked good. And so maybe, and he has some point guard, combo guard ability. So maybe that's the position to go into. And then I've also mentioned Keaton Wallace. That could be an option. You have seen a decent sample size of Keaton Wallace if you're Quinn Snyder at the beginning of the year. So you have an idea of the type of player he is. We all believe he filled that role, very well. He defended. He was always pass first. But when he did have shots, he took them and he was able to knock them down at times. He has a floater. He's been working on the three. So there is something there with Keaton Wallace if the Hawks felt confident enough to go in that direction. But I really think they would rather him stay in the G League, continue to develop, be the guy who runs the show with the G League team for the most part. But that is obviously another option they could go down. So, and I don't know how urgent this need is for them. I don't think this is something the Hawks are going to fill like ASAP. But like obviously, maybe when we get closer to the trade deadline, you will maybe start to hear more rumblings of what the Hawks may want to do at that spot. So those are just some potential areas of people who could replace Kobe Bufkin in that spot. But as of right now, it'll be Vit Krejci. And my biggest thing with Vit Krejci has always been he brings you defense. He's a playmaker. He definitely does, I think, what Quinn wants him to do. His biggest thing is on the offensive end. What does he give the Hawks offensively? Because Krejci will have multiple games where he'll give you 0 points. And I feel like you want him to give you something from that spot, because that would be a big help, or else you're basically only getting 8 men, since Quinn usually runs a 9-man rotation, 8 men scoring the ball, and you don't get nothing really from your knife guy. So that's why I think they've, wanted to push Krejci to be more aggressive offensively, go to the rim, take open shots, just attempt to try to give them some offensive production to help with that offensive load. So obviously, like I said, sucks for Kobe Bufkin though. Wish him a speedy recovery. Hopefully he gets back in full health and we will see him on a basketball court soon. And like I said, it may be in Atlanta, maybe somewhere else. We'll have to see what the front office thinks about that, as we probably won't know anything till the offseason. Remember, he's the first round pick and a lottery pick for this team. So I'm on the belief that they're probably going to let him come back next year and then maybe be like, all right, third year, if you can't stay healthy, that's when we'll make a call. Because I think that's also when they have to make a decision after the third year about his option. So obviously, if that's the case, they may not pick up that option, and then you're going to your fourth year, which is your last year of your contract. But then also in Hawks news, another player who was a part of that same draft class is no longer now with the team, as Seth Lundy has been waived by the Atlanta Hawks. That announcement was made yesterday on a Tuesday. So Seth Lundy was a guy who, when I drafted him, I discussed that, he's a really good three-point shooter. That was what was going to keep him in the league, is his three-point shooting. And, I felt like that their development plan with him was just to help him improve other parts of his game. So then maybe at some point, I've always mentioned maybe he could be Bogey's replacement. Now, obviously, that's a far-fetched statement, but I was just saying in terms of some type of replica, a guy who can shoot the ball, play make a little bit, other things like that. His biggest issue has also been injuries. He has had this ever since that Kings game where he injured his ankle. He has not been healthy. He's missed multiple games, multiple months with the ankle. He'll get some work done on the ankle, come back for a couple of games, re-injure the ankle again. He had a surgery over the offseason on the ankle where he didn't even play in some of the games leading up in the preseason because of it. Hit that game winner. He's known for his preseason game-winning shots. Injured, and the ankle was unhealthy again after that game. It was just one of those things where the ankle would continue to be an issue, where it may come off as a chronic problem. And so I think the Hawks looked at that and was just like, this ankle injury may not get healthy anytime soon. And so they may have just said, you know what? We can open up a two-way spot, maybe bring someone else in who's healthy. And they decided to move on from Seth Lundy. Obviously, like I said, wish the best for him, of course. I think, like I said, his shooting is what will keep him in the game. And so I hope that a team will give him an opportunity to play and an opportunity to show what he can do. Kind of like a Tyrese Martin, even though Tyrese didn't have injury problems, he just couldn't hit the floor. But, I hope Seth Lundy can find his niche in the league because, any player who plays for us, Brandon Goodwin, any of those guys, I'm never going to be like, I hope they're out the league or anything like that. Like, I hope he can, find some footing, stay healthy, and kind of show people what maybe the Hawks liked about him. And now maybe another team gets the opportunity to see, okay, let's see what he can bring to the table and kind of revitalize his career. so to say. Because like I said, I always like to say the fun fact, he was the first rookie out of that class to get in the main rotation until he got hurt. So, and that sucks for him. So obviously injuries have been a big theme of that rookie class. Obviously, we know Muhammad Gay was hurt last year, so he's been healthy so far. So out of all of them, Muhammad Gay has been healthy this year, which is big because I think people still think the Hawks have big plans for him down the line. And so if he continues to stay healthy and can just continues to get more experience playing basketball and developing as a player, I think overall that will lead to more success for him and a potential opportunity to crack the rotation at some point. But yeah, so that's what's happening on that front. Now let's get to some trade rumors with the Hawks right now. So there was a report earlier today about, we've heard different guys. We've heard Clint Capella's name. We've heard Bogey Bogdanovic's name. And we've heard DeAndre Hunter's name, all mentioned as potential guys who could be on the trading block. I forgot last week who reported. Bogey's was like last week that they're willing to listen to offers. One thing I've learned about this front office is they will listen to offers for every single player on this roster, but it doesn't mean that they're serious about moving any of these players on the roster. They've always been, Fields has always been like, listen, we will pick up the phone in case somebody wants to, bring something to my attention. Maybe they bring up something that's worth something, right? And they'll consider it. But if not, they're probably not trying to, move off of a guy. One team that's been connected to him has been the Denver Nuggets. So as a potential trade option, my stance on Hunter, and this was interesting about guys like him and Clint, because of their importance to this current version of the team, the trade market and what the Hawks may want back for them has kind of changed. Maybe a year or two ago, you may be like, we just need to get his contract off the books and just maybe hopefully find a pick or maybe a player who we can use in some capacity, right? Well, now that Hunter is a Six-Man of the Year candidate and has provided a spark for this team and has been a major player for this team, and he was also seen working with Joe Johnson, who was at practice. He's been working with Joe Johnson. Joe was showing him some ISO moves, whatever. So that's beautiful to see the old Hawks coming back, supporting the team, showing support, giving them wisdom, anything under the sun, all that. It kind of changes what you would, if you were the Hawks. You may listen to offers for DeAndre Hunter, but what you may have taken before and what you may take now are two different things now, I think. You probably want something more significant back. I know with Denver, some people have mentioned a Michael Porter Jr. swap. I mean, as of right now, to me, DeAndre Hunter is playing better than Michael Porter Jr. So are you really upgrading at that spot if you make that move? And they're both on big contracts, so it's not like you're necessarily, getting cheaper or something. It literally just is a matter of just, are they offering something with him that you really, really want and are willing to make the swap for? So I think you've heard Hunter connected in some stuff. Clint has been, I don't know if there's actually been an official report on Clint, but I think, people will always assume Clint is a trade candidate just because his contract is up. He is a guy in an expiring deal. Expiring contracts in the league usually have more valued teams because they know they can bring in a guy who can help them out for a playoff run. And then if they want to re-sign him, they have the ability to, but if not, it won't cost them anything because they'll be off the books anyway. So, Clint obviously will be in discussions. Again, his way he's anchored the defense of that center position, shot blocker, he had 4 blocks against Milwaukee. That, again, has changed how you see and view, Clint's value to the team because it's kind of important, especially since you heard Trae Young say it. You've heard multiple players say it. They're taking more of a defensive mindset. So, again, you're probably not giving up Clint unless there's something a team is offering that you really, really want. And I would not be shocked at this point if the Hawks hang on to Clint Capella until his contract ends. Because it's one of those things where it's like, you may want to try to get something back for him, but it's also like, you got to make sure if we're going to do it, we're getting to something that will help us. Like if the Hawks believe they're going to be a good team this year, which it looks like they will be if they can continue with the way they've played. You're not trying to just move someone off. Like people are actually asking the question, could the Hawks actually be buyers at the trade deadline? I don't think so, because I think they want to stick to their development plan and their philosophy. And so I don't think they're going to be buyers. Like I said, backup point guard's the only position you see them make a major move at, just because like that's a position of need. That isn't a development position. That's a position of need. Everybody else, you're kind of just like, we're pretty happy with what we're getting from everybody at the other spots. So, that's a guy who, like I said, who's been mentioned as well. And then Bogey. Bogey obviously is a guy who is mentioned, I think, every year in trade talks, because he's a shooter. He can shoot the ball. He seems like a playoff team's perfect solution if it's like we need more shooting, we need more spacing. And Bogey is a guy that I think, again, Hawks will probably listen to offers for Bogey. But again, I don't think this is a situation where they're like, we really, really, really want to move off a Bogey or anything of that nature. They are fully 100% going to keep Bogey if they don't get something that they want. Because again, they're not going to move off a guy who, for especially for a team that's not a great shooting team, he's really the only shooter in that lineup that like you're just like, yeah, Bogey can get on a heater and just start lighting you up from three. And and obviously there's other guys who can do it. Like DeAndre's shot very well from three. So he's been a really good 3-point shooter this year. Trey's shot hasn't been falling, but we know he can hit threes. Jalen Johnson's still working to improve that. But overall, I don't see them moving Bogey either. Like I said, all of those players that we've mentioned all have to be given that you have to be attaching something with whatever player you're sending back to the Hawks to make it worth their while to even move off of them. So I don't think from that perspective we're really going to see anything crazy from a trade perspective with those three. I don't know if there's any trades in you guys' eyes that you think would be a good fit for the team. I don't even know if you even include one of those guys in a backup point guard. I mean, I know some people have maybe said for Lonzo. I've seen Kobe and Clint for Lonzo. Maybe Kobe, Clint, maybe Chicago will attach a pick to him, and then you give up the Kings pick, Kobe, and then Clint. And, to see what that looks like. But again, if you give up Clint, you don't get another big back. I mean, you're basically now your two centers are Okongwu and Nance. So you're extremely undersized. You were already undersized outside of Clint. Now you're extremely undersized because now you have no size. The only size you have is Dominic Barlow. And he's in the G League, but I think they called him up for the Spurs game. So, which is interesting because I wonder if it's because, he's returning to San Antonio, and I wonder if they just wanted him on the roster to be able to go there, and see, the team he used to play for. I don't know if that means he's actually going to play. I know some people also asked potentially Jalen Johnson could still be hurt. I know some people wondered if Jalen was 100% healthy in that NBA Cup game. He played through it, whatever. He didn't seem like he was laboring, but maybe he was at a point where he wasn't like extremely hurt, but like, for a guy who uses athleticism a lot, that could hinder you in some capacity. So, people are wondering if he's just doing that as an insurance, right? But, these are all just possibilities, man. So, overall, I don't think from a trade front, the Hawks are going to be active, but I do see their name being brought up, and I do see the names continuing as we get closer to the trade deadline in the NBA. That discussion being brought up much more often, much more discussed, and things of that nature. So I think that in and of itself will be interesting to see if that's something that the Hawks actually aggressively maybe get into or not. So I think those are also things that you have to keep an eye on for the Atlanta Hawks. Actually, while I'm recording this podcast, the Hawks actually just brought out their new injury report. So I guess this is kind of, I don't know, breaking. So Trey's playing, Kobe's out, and Kobe is out. So Cody Zeller obviously ain't playing. Kobe is out with the surgery. Onyeka Okongwu is out for the Spurs game, which now makes the Dominic Barlow call up make more sense just for depth reasons. You're probably now with that injury going to go Nance at the backup center position with Clint starting. They say Okongwu's out due to left knee inflammation. So that has nothing to do with his foot. So I know some people may be excited thinking, are we going to get some Dominique Barlow minutes, especially because you're playing Wembanyama. And so, like, he's 7'6". You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, oh, would they play? But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. As far as I know, they're going to go Clint Nance tomorrow. And we'll just see how that looks. So, but we'll have to see. So there's your injury report for San Antonio, but Trae Young is probable in that game as well. So that is what we're looking at right now for the Atlanta Hawks as they get ready for the San Antonio Spurs, get back on the playing track and try to continue to get another win streak going to see if they can, start really making some ground up in the Eastern Conference. Spurs right now are at 500. Hawks are game above 500. And then they actually have a challenging homestand coming up before going out to Toronto the next time. So we'll have to see. Obviously, guys. Well, actually, not obviously. So guys, in terms of that game tomorrow, I am expecting to have another show up tomorrow afternoon of the game previewing Spurs and Hawks. I have another person coming over from the Spurs side of things talking about the game with me tomorrow. So look out for that for Believe in Hawks content. We're going to have a lot of episodes in the next 24 or 36 hours. The preview, and then the game recap episode. So we're going to have a lot of content for Believe in Hawks coming up on the pod. So if you really enjoyed this episode and enjoy Believe in Hawks and you want to see it and get notifications for it and all that, subscribe, push notification button, like the video, everything on this sign. Show love to you, boy. Same thing for all my audio listeners as well. Available on any podcast platform. If you can't watch it in video, you want to hear it on the road, wherever you go, it is available for you across any podcast platform that you have or you prefer to listen to the podcast on. So definitely appreciate you guys for tuning in. Obviously, follow me on Twitter at Bricey_2K as well. But I think that's about it for me today. That's what's happening with our Atlanta Hawks. And we'll have to see as they get back on the track and get ready to play. Like I said, game preview coming out tomorrow for Believe in Hawks. It's your boy Bryce Lewis. See you next time.